If you can just recap, how would you describe your term in office as a CJ, the first CJ under the Constitution of Kenya, the new Constitution? I mean, you came into a system that almost looked like it had failed. A system, the moment you enter the corridors, could smell urine actually. It was very dirty.
Yeah.
So how would you describe the time that you've been there?
Okay, let's start with the metaphor I've been using. Are you familiar with the Leicester Football Club?
Yes.
Leicester Football Club was facing relegation actually last season. But this season they became champions. So the paradigm that we have used in the judiciary, which is transformation from the margins, is best expressed and I think reflected by the story of Leicester. You know, where the task seems impossible, but you have to do something. You have to make sure that the toilets are clean. You've got to look for spaces where you can do something, and that's why the metaphor of the mansions and the Leicester is important, because Leicester, nobody would have thought that they were going to be champions, because there were these big teams: Chelsea, Man U, Man City, Arsenal, and others, and they were just fighting for survival. But because they had a manager is like a leader. It's a leader, but without the players, without the sponsors, without the funds, okay, and without a following, which is what we call a constituency, there's nothing you can do. Okay, so for me, it was a journey where I needed to get collective leadership, a journey where I needed to have a constituency, within the judiciary, because there are 5,000 people there, people who believed in the transformation and who would not sabotage the entire process. And you can only do a thing like that when you have a vision, when you have a framework like the one we had, and where you start mobilizing the community for change through looking at the past and what was unfair, what was unjust, what people, although they didn't verbalize it, but they hated it. And those are the spaces you looked at. One of the things I did was to look for people who had gone back to school and they had graduated, and they didn't tell anybody because they thought they would be transferred and they would be punished. So we got all these people who had BAs, diplomas in their work and so forth, and we gave them new tasks. So that was one aspect we called glorifying excellence, and we started building a constituency. Women in the Court of Appeal were not there, so we got 8 women. So that's the gender bit. Then people with disability were totally marginalized. We also, got, them a bus and aids and whatnot. Then even in interviews, we made sure that people were promoted on merit. Okay, some people who had never been interviewed for 20 years got a chance to get interviewed and become judges or become chief magistrates and so forth. The terms and conditions of service, we looked at them, tried to bridge the gap. And everybody now in the judiciary has insurance cover. Some have bought houses, others have bought cars. Facilities they never had. So under the slogan, which we didn't use, of humanizing the judiciary and humanizing justice, that's what it was. And once you create a constituency within the judiciary, then you transformation framework then gets support. And for me, it's I've compared the transformation to, of course, the Leicester, football club, because it's everybody. It's not just the manager. If you've got to get champions. You have to have a constituency. Those are the funds who cheer and push people, to perform. Or the other metaphor I've used is turning a ship tanker. I've said that these institutions, when you transform them, it's not a speedboat, so it's a huge thing, and all you need to do is to make sure that it faces the right direction, and that's what I think we've done. And but I've always said that that's not the end. We've just laid foundations. Whether the termites will eat the foundations, whether people will reverse things, I really don't know. But we wanted to lay firm foundations for a transformed judiciary.
And what was it like when you became the Chief Justice and you walked into that building and there were all these cartels? I mean, what shocked you most? And especially I would like to know, how did you deal with the cartels? Because I recall a day that I took somebody there, and what shocked me were the people that I met on the streets saying, I can help you doing this, which is now no longer happening. It actually sounds like history.
And I've never said this because people think that I attack Sholei and I don't appreciate her. I do. Sholei came and actually I credit her with destroying those cartels that were there. All right. My only criticism about Sholei is that she destroyed them and created her own. But that's the issue of corruption. We started with it, fairly early, because we knew that our clerks, our secretaries had been captured by legal firms. They were basically working, for them. And that's why files were disappearing. That's why proceedings were not being typed on time. But that was the beginning, of that story. And the other thing that saved us was the vetting, because when we got in, judges and magistrates were being vetted, so they were actually fighting for their dear lives. And so the internal resistance wasn't as fierce, as it was later.